Okay, welcome to part 2 of our maze game tutorial in Scratch. The next thing we are going to do is add some sprites that will prompt our character to ask some questions. So going to head down here to our sprite library. I'm just going to add the ball here just to keep things simple. You can download pictures from the internet and add that if you like. So let's try and fix the size up. Let's try 30. Okay, and I'm going to pick somewhere nice and close to my sprite. So that way, as I'm testing the code and making sure the broadcasts are working properly, I don't have to travel through a huge maze just to test it. Once I know that my code is working, I can move the sprites to where I want them and make it a little bit harder for the person playing my game. So the way that I communicate from my cat to the ball sprite is by sending a broadcast. So I'm going to head over to the cat now and scroll down to the bottom of my code, and I'm going to add an if touching ball block. So let's head over to control. I'm looking for my if then block, and it's going to go underneath. Make sure it doesn't go in my arrow blocks. So I'm going to head over now to sensing and get if touching and grab the ball. What do I want to happen? I want to send a broadcast which will communicate and send information to the ball to tell it to start running through its code, but I also want to add a little bit of a sound too. So if I head up to sounds and go down to the sound library, I'm going to search for coin. The reason why I like this one here is that it sounds a little bit like Mario, Super Mario. So I'm going to add in and I'm going to start the sound. The reason I'm using start sound is because that way it can start running through the code once it's started the sound. But luckily for me, the coin sound is quite short anyway. I'm then going to head over to events and come down to broadcast. So I'm going to drag that underneath. And instead of message 1, I'm going to make this a new message and call this question 1. So this will be the first math question that I'm getting asked. So now, the way this code works is that as my cat is traveling through the maze, if it touches the ball, it's going to start the sound, and then it's going to broadcast question 1. And now I need the ball sprite to receive the broadcast and then start running through its code. So instead of using a green flag block to start its code, I'm going to use when I receive, and it has automatically changed question 1 for me, which is great. And then I'm going to use some variables and some pick random blocks to make it randomly pick numbers. Now I could use a sensing and ask block, so I could do something like 4 times 4. But the issue is that obviously I'm getting the same questions every time. Whereas if I use a random number generator, someone could play the game over and over again and get different numbers each time. So it's a little bit more exciting to play. So let's head over to variables, and I'm going to make a variable, and I'm going to get 3. So I'm going to go number 1, make another one, number 2, and last one, I'm going to call this expected answer. Okay, I'm going to do an underscore to separate my words, just to make it a little bit easier. Now I don't need any of them to be displayed, so I'm going to hide those 3. I will eventually add one for score a little bit later, another variable for score, but I'll do that a bit later. So I'm going to set number 1, and I want number 1 to be pick randomly. So if I come down to operators, I can get pick random. Now I'm doing this for a primary school audience, so that's going to be looking at our 12 up to 12 times 12. So pick a number between 1 and 12. And I'm going to do the same for number 2. So let's duplicate that block and change that to number 2. And I've already got that one ready. So it's going to randomly pick number 1 to be between 1 and 12, and randomly pick number 2 to be between 1 and 12. And then I'm going to get an expected answer to times number 1 by number 2. So back onto variables, if I get set expected answer, and I want my expected answer to be that times that, because I'm doing a multiplication game. So in my operators, you can see I've got plus, minus, and that little star is a multiplication symbol. I'm going to pop that over there, and it's going to be number 1 times number 2. Let's drag that in. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to ask my question. So let's head over to sensing and get ask, and instead of ask what's your name, we're going to put the numbers that are randomly drawn out for number 1 and number 2 and put it in there. Now, if I use this multiplication symbol here, it's going to automatically times it together. So if this random number was 2 and this random number is 4, and I use the multiplication block, it's going to just ask 8. So it's going to solve it for me. So I need to make sure that I use my operators block, and I'm going to put a little X in for the multiplication symbol. So I'm going to get join apple banana and put another join apple banana in over the banana. So here I'm going to put number 1. So join number 1, and I'm going to times that by number 2. So when this question is asked, it's not going to times it for me. It's going to say, for example, 2 times 4. Okay, if I used that block, it would just show me 8. So that's the question that's going to pop up, and I'm going to use an if-else block to have a positive or a negative reward. So let's come down to control and get my if-else block. Now, I'm going to get a operators for the equal sign that's going to show me what the answer equals. So if my correct answer, let's use the answer block, is whatever that times that is, okay, and we know what that's going to be. It's going to be the expected answer. So my expected answer block here is already timesing them together. So if what is the answer typed in here is the same as the expected answer, then this is going to be the positive reward because they've gotten it correct. And then if they type in anything else, this will be the negative reward. Now, I'm going to send a broadcast back to the sprite for my positive and negative rewards. I'm going to show you why. When I press my green flag and I move my cat and when I'm touching the ball, you can see that the cat will still continue to touch the ball. I can't use my arrow keys to move the cat away. And because it's continually touching the ball, it's continually running this code. So it's continually starting the coin sound and prompting question 1 over and over again. So the only way to get around that is by making the ball hide. So I'm going to jump up to looks. I'm going to make it hide as soon as it receives question 1, but that also means I need to make it show every time I start my game. So let's get when green flag is clicked and show. So let's see how this works. Okay, so you can see then the ball disappears and I have my question. Because the ball has disappeared, I need to use a broadcast to send information back to the cat, because if I said here show or say well done, the ball can't do that because the ball is now hidden. Okay, so if the sprite is hidden and it's not on the screen, it can't say anything. No words can pop up on the screen. So that's why I'm sending the message back to the cat. The cat is going to say well done and things like that. So the last 2 bits here are nice and easy because it's just sending a broadcast. So let's stick a broadcast in each slot. And I'm going to name them. So obviously it's not going to be question 1 anymore. It's going to be a new message, and I'm going to call this correct response. And for my last message, I'm going to call that incorrect response. Okay, now I'm going to jump back over the cat and finish off what those broadcasts do. Okay, now that I'm back on the cat, I'm going to set up my correct and incorrect response blocks. So I'm just going to scroll back to the top because I like to try and keep my code nice and tidy, and I'll just build it to the side here. So I'm going to get my 2 hat blocks, one for correct response and one for incorrect response, and I'm going to set up my positive and negative consequences. So I love to start with a sound, and I'm going to head to my sound library, keeping it nice and easy, clapping. nice and easy if you get one right. So I'm going to start my clapping sound if I get it right. I'm going to say correct, okay, and I'm going to use the one that's got a certain amount of time. So correct. You can say anything like congratulations, well done. And I'm going to make it 3 seconds, and I'm going to change the score. So I do need to add another variable for score now. So if I head to variables, make a variable score, leave it on for all sprites, and OK. Now my score is automatically updated here. You can change if you want to have it as a different readout. It's completely up to you. So I'm going to leave it as the normal readout, I think. And I'm going to change score by 1. Now, anytime I add in here changing score by 1, I now need to go back to my main code over here and make sure that every time I restart my game, the score starts at 0. So I need to use a set block, set score to 0, and I'm just going to pop that here under my green flag. So that way, if I play the game and I get a score of 10 and I go to restart my game again, my score starts again at 0. Now we're going to jump over and do our incorrect response. So again, just following the same pattern here, I'm going to pick a sound, and I'm going to try and pick a bad sound. The one that I'm enjoying at the moment is bonk. I'm going to grab that one. I'm going to get start sound bonk. And I'm going to jump over and grab my say block. Now, I could just go, oh no, too bad, that's not good. But because I really want people to learn their times tables, I'm going to say, oh no, the correct answer was, and then show what the correct answer was going to be. So I can do that by using my apple banana block. So I'm going to head to operators and get my join apple banana. So in the first half, I'm going to say, oh no, the correct answer was, and I put a little space after it because otherwise it's going to put that right next to the answer. And instead of banana, I'm going to put in the expected answer, because I've already made that block. So it already knows what the answer should be. And I'll make sure that is for 3 seconds as well. And I would like my person to lose a point if they get that wrong. So change score by -1, and this will make it go down. So before I go ahead and duplicate the balls and add more questions around the maze, I'm going to make sure this is working properly. So I'm going to press my green flag. Okay, so I've hit the ball, it's made a noise, and I have my question. 9 times 8 is 72, so I'm going to type that in. Okay. I've heard the audio, I got correct, and I have gotten a point, so that's working perfectly. I'm going to try that again with an incorrect response. Let's type the wrong answer in. So I've got, oh no, the correct answer was 50. Okay, so I know that this is working good. So now I can go ahead and duplicate the yellow balls. I can have it make it have different costumes and things like that, and that way I can make a game worth playing. So if I bring my mouse down here to the ball, I'm just going to do a 2-finger click and duplicate. So now I have ball 2, and it's got all the code that I need already. Now I do need to change some things, okay? At the moment on my cat, I only have if touching ball, broadcast question 1, okay? So I need to make sure I have something for if touching ball 2, and I need to change the broadcast on this guy, because at the moment, if I touch that, they both disappear. So I need to fix that up. So underneath my cat, I'm just going to do a 2-finger click on this block here and duplicate and stick it underneath. So I'm going to put if touching ball, and this one will be ball 2. And I need to make ball 2 question 2. So let's get a new message and call this question 2. You need to have a new broadcast for every single question that is being asked, okay? And by using the matching numbers, so ball 2 and question 2, it's an easier way to check your work. So let's jump over to ball 2 and make sure that is question 2. And I'm going to give it a different costume too, just to make it look a little bit different, a bit more exciting. So now I'm going to put this, like I said, because I'm just testing at the moment, I'm going to drag that close so I can make sure it's all working. So 8 Let's get this wrong on purpose. Okay, so I can see this is working. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate a couple more sprites for the questions, change their costumes, and add the code that I need to. I'm also just spreading them out now because I know that it's all working. Okay, so if I was spending more time on this, I would add a lot more and I'd spread them out. I'd try and put them into the little corners that make them, the person playing have to try and really work hard to get them. But this is just my example, so I want to make it a little bit more easier for you. You'll find that if you're having a lot of issues trying to make this game, the best thing to check is that on your cat sprite, you have got the balls all having a different broadcast, because a lot of the time when you're duplicating, people forget to change the broadcast. So ball 4, question 4, ball 3, question 3, and so on. It's also important to make sure that on your individual balls, you need to come through and change the question that is being asked as well. And then that should be it. What I'm going to do just to try and finish the game off a little bit is put something at the end here. So I'm going to just pick a sprite, and I'm just going to grab the paddle, and I'm going to put it at the very end. So let's make it a bit smaller, 30. And rather than just kind of finishing the game doing nothing, I'm going to put in that if the cat touches the paddle, it ends the game. I'm going to head over to the main cat, and below all of the if touching ball codes, I'm going to add one for if touching paddle. Sorry, it's just below there. If touching paddle, what do I want it to do? So I'm just going to say, well done, you finished the maze. Press the green flag to, actually I might put that one in a new say block, because otherwise it's going to get a little bit messy. So press the green flag to play again. Okay, so let's test this out. So I'm going to be sneaky and cheat and bring that right down to the end and see how this looks. Well done, you finished the maze. Press the green flag to play again. Okay, what I'm going to do, I could send a broadcast, and I'm going to quickly do that actually. That way I can make it look the game even better. So let's broadcast new message, end game. And I'll make sure that when the paddle receives end game, he hides. Okay, and obviously if I'm using a hide block, I need to make sure that he is showing. Let's give this a whirl. Beautiful. So you can see, all done. Thank you for following along with my tutorial today. I hope that you guys have fun when you make your question maze game on Scratch. Thank you for following.